As a massage therapist, you know that truly the world's most beautiful machine is in your hands. You help relieve the pain and pressures that hold your clients back from fully enjoying life. The CBD Clinic Massage Collection uses ingredients from nature to deliver strong, effective temporary pain relief with aromatic botanicals and natural emollients like CBD. Our tiered pain products let you personalize your massage to meet each client's needs. Be your client's hero by giving them the massage treatment of their dreams with CBD Clinic. Learn more at cbdclinic.co. Hey, lifelong learners, did you know that Elements Massage Studios are hiring, and at the top of their list is curious massage therapists like you? Elements Massage Studios are all about improving the lives of everyone they touch. For them, that includes giving you training in new skills, a supportive team, and chances to grow a client list. If this sounds like it could be your new home, let them know we sent you by going to elementsmassage.com/ABMP. That's elementsmassage.com/ABMP. Till Luca is pleased to invite you to an amazing learning opportunity. Join Till in September and October for a personalized, in-depth training in advanced myofascial techniques for the legs, knees, and feet. Combining live online lecture, intimate small group labs, and searchable recordings of Till's real-life technique demonstrations, you'll earn NCB TMB approved credit towards becoming CAMT certified in as little as 90 minutes per week. And check out Till's new, super affordable monthly subscription. Sign up now at advancedtrainings.com.
Welcome to the ABMP podcast. My name is Darren Buford, and I'm editor-in-chief of Massage and Bodywork magazine and senior director of communications for ABMP.
And I'm Kristen Coverly, licensed massage therapist and ABMP's director of professional education.
Our guests today are Heath and Nicole Reed. The Reeds are co-founders of Living Meta and want everyone in the world to enjoy the experience of befriending their body. The Reeds lead workshops and retreats across the country and overseas and have been team teaching touch and movement therapy for 16 years. In addition to live classes, the Reeds offer massage therapy and self-care videos, DVDs, and online trainings, which may be found online at livingmeta.com. Hello, Heath. Hello, Nicole. And hello, Kristen.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, welcome back to the ABMP podcast, Heath and Nicole. It's so good to have you back.
Thank you. It's so great to be back.
So good to be here.
We want to talk to you today about your Massage and Bodywork magazine feature article titled Tending to Our Hands, Exercises to Strengthen, Stretch, and Activate. We're curious, what motivated you to write about this important topic?
So, of course, as body workers, our hands are our money makers. But regardless of if we're a touch therapist or any human being, every time we go through life, we're putting on clothes, we're brushing our teeth, we're eating, we're driving, we're anything almost always involves using our hands. So we thought, what better way to give a little awareness and attention to how we're feeling than going through the portals of our hands, our emissaries of touch.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about hand-brain connection?
Absolutely. So we already know that our hands, in addition to our face and our feet, have some of the highest concentration of sensory neurons anywhere in our body. So really, as body workers, if we want to help elicit the relaxation response, starting with a client's hands or feet or face is a great portal to relaxation. But looking at the hands specifically, it's really fascinating that our motor cortex, right, the part of our brain that helps us organize movement and motion in 3D space, resistance and gravity, well, about 1/4, a full 25% of the real estate of the motor cortex is devoted simply to the hands. So, of course, the hands aren't a quarter of our mass in our body, much less significant proportion of our body mass. And yet, the motor cortex sees the value and importance of how we interact with the world via our hands as establishing that very significant role and position of the hands relationship to the motor cortex.
Yeah, it's a super highway. Our hands are a super highway to our brain and to the relaxation response. They're just an amazing receptors and emitters of information. And we're constantly hearing or listening and sharing information with our hands. And I think a lot of times we forget how much we use our hands, how powerful they are in relationship to connection, and how much information we're constantly gleaning from just the slightest contact, the slightest change in temperature, the weight of our clothes. I mean, just even noticing those little small nuances. Our fingers are highly intelligent and underestimated, I think, or taken for granted as body workers.
Do you think that most massage therapists and body workers and humans in general take our hand health for granted?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's just, we've always been doing this. It's kind of like the air that we breathe as massage therapists.
What is Moshe Feldenkrais calls it, the elusive obvious.
Yeah. The hands are like our elusive obvious. Like we're always connected. We're always making this relationship, at least in therapeutic settings, via the hands. Yes. And it's sometimes I think we lose the value and significance of this is how we are interacting and interfacing so much of our time, so much of our communication, so much of our healing capacity for others. But also I think we take for granted the capacity of using our hands for healing and wellness and restoring balance within ourselves too. Well,
and there's new research talking about how our hands are constantly communicating how we feel. So not only are we understanding the depth of tissue that's under our fingers or feeling for restrictions or tensions in the body, in the tissue itself, but we're also understanding and getting a sense of what is the feeling here? Who's here? Is this tissue angry? Is this person feeling happy or joyful? And we can really, it's so exciting to see science talk about how our hands are detecting so much more than just depth of pressure.
Yeah, I think to follow up on your question of do we take our hands for granted, anybody who's had a little paper cut or a little hangnail knows immediately like, oh my gosh, I use my hands all the time.
I know. And you don't notice anything really until it hurts.
So we like to suggest, instead of learning to how to feel better after we hurt ourselves, we like to prevent trouble before it arises.
Right. So self-care for our hands is a practice of self-awareness. So we have to kind of get in front of the injury so that we're not hurting at the end of our day. Our hands aren't aching, our thumbs aren't sore. We're not overusing our tools in a way that's compromising our well-being or distracting us from our present moment awareness.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more specifically about that self-care for the hands. Your article is about ways to awaken your hands and protect them by doing specific daily exercises. Can you tell us more about why doing that daily is so important?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, we're athletes. I think body workers are a form of athlete, and constantly using our hands for hours, session after session. Some people, we know therapists who do 8-hour shifts, 11-hour shifts, and using their hands consistently. And, if we're not preparing ourselves, we're putting ourselves at risk for injury.
Yeah, the repetitive use, injuries and strains, but also taking time before or in between sessions or following sessions, just as a way to consciously rebathe our joints with that synovial fluid, right? When we move purposefully, we help produce and secrete more of that lubricating synovial fluid. We help assist with the venous return. We help get the necrotic dead tissue out of the space. So there's lots of physiological benefits to making practices to awaken and protect your hands, not just physical, but also for our awareness, also so that we are more sensitive and we prevent trouble before it arises. We don't end up having the same arthritic hands or the same kind of carpal tunnel that our clients are experiencing because we are investing, we are seeing the worth and value of protecting our hands. So this is why we esteem it, so that we feel as good, if not better than our clients.
I remember once we went to a massage conference and Benny Vaughn was instructing, and as he was preparing for class, he was walking in and he had gloves on, right? Like he had these giant gloves on. It was the first time I've ever seen anybody walk in with giant gloves on. And he was asked about them and shared about how he consciously protects his hands everywhere he goes to preserve his tools. And he wears them when he's traveling through the airports, handling luggage. He wears them when he's cooking. He wears them throughout his day to protect his tools. And I think oftentimes we forget how valuable these tools are. And we constantly put them at risk. And we can also constantly put them in care.
And you mentioned something earlier. I know we all cringed a little bit when you said like a paper cut or having like something wrong with your nail, like an in-bed nail or something like that, because that's like 48 hours where you're like, no, or every single time you run it underwater or anything, you're like, no, that stinks.
Exactly.
Yeah, it happens to be the day you squeeze a lemon. You're like, no.
Totally true. Yes. Okay, let's dive right into the pre-session warm-ups. Can you take us through some of those exercises?
Yeah, I'd love to.
I think we both have our own individual favorites. So
absolutely. Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Well, one of my go-tos, and this kind of leads off of what you were mentioning with Benny Vaughn. And for those who don't know Benny Vaughn, right now he's over in Tokyo helping with the American Olympics team. He's the chief massage team coordinator, and he's been kind of nicknamed the father of sports massage of America. Really incredible gentleman. If you ever have a chance to learn with Benny Vaughn, highly recommended. But you can just take your hands in front of you and start to shake them.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too.
Just shake your hands. Doesn't matter if you're sitting or standing. I'll recommend everybody listening in, just shake your hands. You can shake them side to side, up and down. You can flap them like little wings. You can move them as though you're alternating, or you can do it at the same time, simultaneous. Try with your elbows bent. Try with your elbows straight, with your hands down beside you. Or maybe your arms out, straight out with your elbows extended and your hands straight out like wings, or bring your hands up over your head. Change the Venus return, the relationship with gravity. Can I get a witness? Imagine your hands shaking up there. Yeah. And find your breaths. Yeah. Find another place to shake your hands. Move your arms in a new place. Maybe put one hand in front of your body, one hand in the back as you continue to shake. And here we're moving upwards of about a minute and a half or two. It takes about 2 minutes of conscious physical or breathing exercise. Do this for 3 more breaths as you shake your hands to create a physiological difference, a change in your psychological and physiological state. How about one more breath? Inhale through your nose as you shake a little more vigorously, and let that go.
I know one of my favorite is to just rub, just to massage, just to heat up and warm up my hands. It can be really quick. It can be really slow, but you're just kind of massaging and working and pulling and kind of brushing over all your fingers. And you say hello to your pointer and your middle, and you just kind of brush the back of the fingers, inside the palm, back of each of the hands, in between each of the fingers.
So you're just brushing with one hand on the other hand, and you're trying to see how many different new little areas in between your fingers, on the backs, on the fronts, on the tips of your fingers. You're massaging, you're squeezing, you're compressing. Remember, we've got a quarter of the motor cortex of the
the motor cortex.
Yeah, that is associated with the hand. So here we are waking up our brain, and good thing.
Yeah, this is probably one of the best ways we can wake up our hand-brain connection.
Let's take a short break to hear a word from our sponsors. Anatomy Trains is happy to announce our return to the Dissection Lab in person, January 10th to the 14th, 2022, at the Laboratory of Anatomical Enlightenment in Boulder, Colorado. We are thrilled to be back in the lab with Anatomy Trains author Tom Myers and master dissector Todd Garcia. Join students from around the world and from all types of manual, movement, and fitness professions to explore the real human form, not the images you get from books. This is an exclusive invitation. Email info@anatomytrains.com if you'd like to join us in the lab. Now let's get back to the podcast.
Okay, so those are some great pre-session warm-ups. Let's talk now about mid-session or between sessions. I think a lot of therapists will think, well, if I've done my pre-session and then I've been giving body work for 60 to 90 minutes, do I really need to do anything mid-session or between sessions? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love that. And so I love that you actually asked two different ways, in between sessions and mid sessions. So yeah, like being mindful in the middle of your sessions, how can you organize your body, your ergonomics, your body mechanics in ways that allow for maximum impact and minimal effort? So I know sometimes when I'm, bringing a forearm up the erectors, what have you, maybe with my other hand, I'll lift it over my head and shake it a little, shake it out, not that I'm vibrating the whole table, but, lift the arm up, move my arm around the non-working hand. So there are opportunities actually mid-session to simultaneously take care of yourself as you're simultaneously taking care of someone else.
And one of the hardest things for me, or one thing that I recognize myself doing during sessions, is gripping my fists. So for me, I have to consciously let go of my hands throughout a session. And that in itself is therapeutic.
Yeah, something I, especially for several years, as I continued to improve a few years into my practice, I realized I was using really hard hands, like you say, was unnecessarily clenching. Like when I would use a soft fist, or maybe even when I used a forearm, I would be clenching my hand. So simply telling myself, and it could have been dozens of times per session till I learned it, I would remind myself, soft hands. Let your bones be soft in your hands. Let your muscles be soft hands. And probably hundreds of times a day, I did that for several months till I actually was able to embody it. But do you have a favorite one, Nicole, that you do in between your sessions?
This is an old school one that I do in between sessions.
What do you do?
I learned all the way back in massage school.
Back in the day
at the old UCMT college, right? Remember that place? Wow. So that was the waterfall hand. So for me, it was just taking hold of my fingertips and then
Let's
stretching.
describe it because they don't have a visual.
That's true.
So
Thank you.
your hand is right in front of your chest. Everybody put your palm face up in front of your heart, right hand. Left hand, just grab your palm.
Or your fingers.
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Your fingers. I think it's your fingers because you want to stretch those fingers away from your palm and then start to reach your hand straight out in front of you so that your fingers are pointing back at your body. Your arm is long out in front of you and you feel a nice, big, long stretch in your palm. And then you can make this a little more dynamic by dropping it down towards the floor and creating like a waterfall effect. And you'll get you get access to different muscles in your flexors and your forearms.
So just to describe it a few times, your palm is face up in front of your chest, and then your opposite hand is holding those fingers.
Yes.
You can extend that arm straight up, palm up. Use your other hand to bend back, extend the fingers, extend the wrist. So you're opening the wrist flexors, and you can keep that arm stiff in front of you.
You can keep it static or you can move it.
Yeah,
so
do the other side too. If you've only done one side, try the opposite side. Sometimes I like to lift the hand all the way up in front of my head, stretch the arm straight up, and then point the fingernails toward the ground, open the palm toward the ceiling or away from me, and bring it up and down a handful of times.
All right, let's jump to the post-session cool downs. Can you take us through some exercises there?
Yeah, sure. So there's a few, and there's a couple in the article too that I'd love to point out. One really nice one, and I wouldn't say this has to be done at the end, but it's really nice because it helps combine both a little muscular engagement with some flexibility. And that's the one that we nicknamed "Get a Grip and Take a Bow." So in a standing position, you can try this at home. Stand up. You're going to come to a standing position, and you're going to interlace your hands behind your seat. And so for a lot of us, we need to bend our elbows and just find the hands behind your seat. If you can't interlace your fingers, you could also use one hand to grab the opposite wrist. And then what we'll do with our feet about hip width apart is we're going to start to bend our knees and fold forward while we hold our interlaced fingers, or while we hold that one hand and wrist behind us, and we take a bow. So we're holding the fingers, interlacing the fingers, the opposite hand, and we're folding forward. And remember to breathe. So we notice when we're applying some intense pressure on our clients, they tend to hold their breath. When we're applying an intense stretch on ourselves, we tend to hold your breath. So try this. Don't hold your breath, but hold the pose for 1 or 2 more deep breaths, trying to reach your hands up over your head toward the ceiling, or even where the wall meets beyond your head and shoulders. So then release the tension in your fingers. You could even release your hands, bend your knees, roll up 1 vertebrae at a time, and come to a standing. You'll notice a little blood pressure reestablishing itself. You'll hopefully feel some nice openness in your thoracic outlet as we open up the chest, and then engage the lats, engage some of the posterior kinetic chain to help counteract some of the slouching or rounding that sometimes happens in our forward head position, or when we're rounding around the table, or when we're rounding from too much sitting.
That's a great way to like punctuate the end of a session, like full body stretch.
Yeah. And that's over.
I know one of my favorite is to do what we call the crane speak. So you can bring all your fingers together, reach your arms out to the side, and then just rotate your fingers up, down, and back. And you're keeping your fingers all together, thumb with all the rest of your fingers pressing, holding, squeezing together as you rotate your shoulders back and forth. And you get a really nice opening, not only in the back of your hand, but also throughout your forms, flexors and extensors. Really great way to kind of squeeze out the tension, like you're squeezing out a sponge or a rag or something.
And Nicole, I loved when I was following along with the article, I loved that crane stretch first because it was new to me. I'd never done it. And I love how you also added the neck stretch with that as well.
Good. Yeah. So you can just isolate just your forearms, get into your shoulders, or add that neck, bringing the ear to the shoulder. You can even rock your head forward and back a little bit to kind of open up those tendons, being very patient, being very kind with your attention on those parts of the bodies as they start to melt and relax around your effort, around your shape and form. And yeah, it's such a great way for me, one of my favorite ways to finish.
And Nicole, you also do a little finger flick too, which I think is a perfect way to kind of wrap up your sessions, right?
Yeah, it's like shaking off the day, like just like you have wet hands, you have all this stuff, like maybe you were in the sand or something with your hands and you just want to shake everything off. It's like, let go of the day.
Yeah. And it's just like you started with crane's beak. You bring all your fingers and thumbs together, or you even close your fingers into a soft fist, bend your elbows, and then you real quickly, vigorously straighten out your arms like you're trying to flick off water. Like Nicole said, you're trying to flick off sand off your fingernails, and even try to make a flicking kind of noise with your fingernails flicking off the heels of your palms. And you can flick with your hands aimed down to the ground for a handful of times.
And it's nice with the elbow bend. You want to add that elbow bend so you're getting that good movement through your fingers as you flick down towards the earth. And what I like doing that about going down towards the ground is a great way to kind of let the earth take the day. The earth knows what to do with our excess energy, knows how to recycle really well, compost. And so it can compost and recycle our energy just the same way we can compost and recycle our foods. So let it just all go into the ground, out to the sides, up to the sky, and any other direction that feels like supportive to you.
Let's talk about dynamic stretching. So how is that different from static stretching? And why is it important to incorporate that into our daily routines?
So static stretching is when we take a stretch, we bring any muscle into a particular kind of stretching sensation and hold for a period of time.
Yeah. So when we were holding, take a bow, get a grip and take a bow. When we hold it there, that's a static stretch. And that's beneficial. That helps really build the collagen, the tensile strength of the fascia. It's really good for helping reorganize and realign in healthy organization for your fascial alignment.
It's also great for injury prevention, cooling down after you're doing your work or after you've had a day walking or whatever you've been doing outside, gardening or anything that you're up to. It's a great way to kind of to elicit that parasympathetic response where the body begins to rest and restore, especially as we hold static for at least 30 seconds, we find to be really beneficial.
Yeah. And we are trying to overcome what's called the myotatic or the stretch reflex, which for superficial fascia takes about 20 to 30 seconds to overcome. But for deeper fascia, like into the joint capsule or ligaments, which take a little longer, they're more dense than other fascia to release, upwards of 90 seconds or a couple minutes. And one of my favorite static stretches for the hands that I'll do oftentimes when I'm driving home is I will place one hand.
It's not dangerous?
Well, if you have a stick shift, it's dangerous. But if you can...
You're not putting our listeners at risk here, Heath.
Well, please make sure you can steer with one hand only. If you have a stick shift, maybe leave this out till you get home. But
when you're at the stoplight.
There we go.
You're going to lift up one hamstring and put your palm flat down under that hamstring, put the top of the hand under the hamstring, and just with the fingertips pointing to your back seat, you can get a really nice wrist flexor stretch.
And it's a good static stretch.
Oh, it's a great static. And I like to hold that for about a half minute or so. And then after that, I lift up my leg, I flip the palm over, still fingertips pointing mostly backwards behind me or to the side. Now the top of my palm is on the car seat, and my hamstrings on my open palm. And now we get the wrist extensor. Mm-hmm. So that's one of my all-time favorite static stretches. And it's very versatile because I'm driving home anyway. Here's a great opportunity to combine getting home with feeling good.
You're a good multitasker.
And then dynamic stretching.
Yes.
So dynamic stretching, think of if you were to take a wide step and to lunge forward. That's often given as an exemplar of a dynamic stretch where you're both moving the body and mobilizing it, but you're also helping to challenge the tensile strength and continuity of the fascial system.
Yeah, you're stretching the muscle while you're moving through range of motion, as in a walking lunge, or even arm circles, reaching your arms out to the side and circling your arms forward and backwards is an example of dynamic stretch. We do one for the hands where you just bring your palms together, resting your hands on a table, and you would just press your hands side to side, and you're activating muscle at the same time that you're stretching it. And that's really great for when you're ready to perform. So it's an excellent stretch. Dynamic stretches are excellent to do before you get ready for your sessions as well. So finding different ways to activate the muscles as you're moving them will help performance, improve like power, strength, agility, balance in your hands. It's got so many wonderful new research is going into this about all the cool benefits of dynamic stretching and incorporating those as a way to improve our performance.
And our coordination and all those other benefits we were speaking about earlier with the synovial fluid production and the venous return, and really helping to open up those brain centers in our central nervous system to help us to be more attuned, not only with the environment outside of us, but also what kind of environment are we experiencing inside? And are there any kind of simple, easy, and friendly ways that we could do to enhance our inner environment?
Well, and I forgot to mention, it also stretches strength in your muscle. And I think we sometimes forget that. We just think that we're lengthening, we're creating more range of motion, we're creating more space, which we are.
Yoga is just, for wusses. You can't really get a good workout for yoga. I've been hearing that for the 20 years I've been teaching yoga, and I will often challenge some of these muscle men. Okay, let's come on over. Let's see how you do in 20 minutes.
Multitasker and competitive.
Yes, I am a competitive stretcher. Not competitive in many areas of my life, but yes, I like to be flexible. So dynamic stretching and stretching in general, when you stretch the fascia, you are creating more tensile strength and integrity. You're building more collagen fibers. You're getting stronger as you get longer.
Yes, love that. Getting stronger as you get longer is cool.
I want to thank our guests today, Heath and Nicole Reed, for an in-depth dive into some of the techniques mentioned here today. Visit their article in the July-August print issue of Massage and Bodywork magazine, or go online to massageandbodyworkdigital.com for the related videos. Listeners interested in finding out more information about Heath and Nicole, their teachings, and their continuing education, visit livingmeta.com. Thanks, Heath. Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
You guys are awesome. We love you.
We love you too. And thanks so much for sharing such great information to help us keep our hands healthy so we can do the work we love. We appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Members are loving ABMP 5-Minute Muscles and ABMP Pocket Pathology, 2 quick reference web apps included with ABMP membership. ABMP 5-Minute Muscles delivers muscle-specific palpation and technique videos, plus origins, insertions, and actions for the 83 muscles most commonly addressed by bodyworkers. ABMP Pocket Pathology, created in conjunction with Ruth Werner, puts key information for nearly 200 common pathologies at your fingertips and provides the knowledge you need to help you make informed treatment decisions. Start learning today. ABMP members log in at abmp.com and look for the links in the featured benefits section of your member homepage. Not a member? Learn about these exciting member benefits at abmp.com/more.